Hey everyone, today we're going to be checking out another section of the Whatever podcast, and today it's going to be about gender and equality. Now, as always, with most female guests on this show, usually they say they want equality, but as soon as it's broken down, it's not really what they want, but they're not really going to admit it. So let's just get started and see what it's about.
I don't expect men to save me. I do appreciate a man who is a gentleman, but that doesn't mean that I am expecting every man to care for me like a child,
And I sounds like you agree with me then, that there's no good reason for men to give women additional
flowers
status
is a gesture of kindness. That's a gesture of respect. It's not an issue of
you can't show people respect unless you open their door and give them flowers.
I never said that I expect every man to open my door.
Isn't it a bigger sign of respect to treat you exactly as an equal? Wouldn't that be the biggest sign of respect?
I do agree with that, and so like I said, I've given men flowers.
Let's get rid of this evil status of toxic femininity.
That's
where
fair.
They demand additional status in society that they don't deserve when we should be treating them like the equals they demand we treat them.
Okay, so what is your definition of toxic femininity? What do you mean by that?
So I really like Andrew's point right here. He's basically saying that she wants chivalry, but she's saying that she wants equality, which doesn't really add up. Now, she says that she wants the flowers, guys who pay for the date, hold the door, all this stuff. But it doesn't really go hand in hand with equality because she's obviously not going to do the same. So she wants the benefits from it, but she's not going to do it herself. Now, he mentioned some toxic femininity, so they're going to go into that. I don't know what it's too much about, but I think he's going to use it as like a play on the word toxic masculinity that they always use. So let's just see what it's about.
What is,
a demand for additional status is based on old chivalric codes that are undeserved when you at the same time demand equality. So I would say toxic femininity is the demand of Schrodinger's feminists who claim, here's the Schrodinger's feminist. You are both the biggest victim on planet Earth, while at the same time the most badass woman on planet Earth. And depending on what circumstance you're in, you'll use either one of those. Either you're
That's
super
fair.
oppressed or you're badass. That's Schrodinger's feminist.
That's fair.
What
That's
toxic femininity is just saying, look, if you're demanding additional statuses in society while you're demanding equality in society, then you're not demanding equality in society. You're demanding status.
I agree with that, and back to your original point of the flowers, I said that it was a kind gesture. I've also given men flowers. So I do think that, there are certain things that are conflicting when it comes to, feminism and, wanting to be treated higher than rather than equal, because feminism originally was for equality. I do agree with you there, and that's not a point that I'm arguing with you on. Obviously, like I believe femininity and feminism, in the olden day sense, is better than what it's turned into. I believe that.
I think Andrew has some really great points here. He's basically pointing out that they have like two different versions. They have the strong, badass, independent woman, and then they also have the victim one who's so sad, life is so hard, and they're just gonna choose which one they want to use depending on the situation. I think this is a big problem that a lot of these modern feminists like to use. So in some cases they're gonna be a victim, and in other cases they're the strongest woman on earth. Now, she mentions quickly that she also bought flowers for guys and stuff. That's great, but that's not usually what happens, and that's not the general conception. So let's just quickly see what they're gonna go ahead and continue with. But I think they're gonna go into more the past feminism and stuff here. So let's just quickly check.
It wasn't. It was even worse. It was even worse.
Okay.
Women. Imagine this. Like, can you imagine that women? And this is the truth. Women had serious societal status. And now they're told to compete with men. It's fucking stupid. It's like, it's the dumbest thing ever. They had real societal status, and they took all that status away from themselves so that they could be equal to men who they can't be equal with. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
What is status if not freedom? Why would you trade status for freedom? I believe that you should want to be able to be your own person. Now, the time that
freedom
you're talking
to do what? What do you
freedom
want
to be an
to
individual. In the olden days, you had to be tied to a man. You had to be tied to a husband. Now, is that me saying, oh, I hate men? No, I plan on having a husband sometime.
I mean, she's still gonna be tied to men in some kind of way. Might not be husband, but she's still gonna be tied to men in some sort of way since they're doing most of the infrastructure, electricity, plumbing, all of this stuff. So there's not really any way that she cannot be tied to men. But I think her point here is that she's talking about being tied like marriage. I think that's what she's getting at here. But doesn't make too much sense. I mean, no matter what, she will always be tied to men in some kind of way, in society at least. I think Andrew is gonna probably go in on this one, so let's see.
Okay.
There's no escaping being tied to men. There's no escaping that. Like everything, the whole building you're in, the streets you walk on, the cars you drive, everything that you do is tied to men. There's no escape.
Right,
from that
and there should be, you know, a relationship that is equal between man and woman. I'm not saying that you should cut out men. I'm not saying that women should be lower or higher. I'm saying that there should be an equal level between men and women. Men and women have different places in society that they are dominant in. Yes, I agree,
but why should they be equal?
Why should they be equal? Because we are both human beings. Because we both have human rights.
Equality?
That is like saying that you should treat one race different than the other. You shouldn't treat a man versus a woman different.
Because you're treating. Hang on, back up.
Okay.
You wouldn't be treating one race differently than another, right? You'd be treating one sex differently than the other. The reason that, because you do agree with me that there's different races who are the same sex, who are women and men. So if men still had authority in society, right? I'm sorry to cut you off in the middle of your long diatribe. Just want to clarify. If men have status or have authority in society and women have status in society, that's fine. But if you want to trade that for equality, you can't bitch when you get it. That's my point.
All right, so she just tried to compare gender and race as if you can use those in this exact same situation as we're talking about here. Obviously, that's not going to work. That's gender and race. You cannot really compare those two when you're talking about equality. But yeah, I don't really know what her point here was, to be honest with you. I think Andrew is doing a great job at trying to explain this to her, and maybe she'll listen, maybe she won't. If you watched this show before, you know that they don't really listen, many of them, but maybe she's gonna listen and see what he's trying to say here. Now, like I said, putting in race in this doesn't really make any sense, but I think maybe he's gonna explain it to her now, so let's see what he says.
What is the difference between, treating somebody differently based on their race versus based on their gender? There should not be a difference. We are all human beings, so you should treat us equal based on that. That in of itself is the basis of humanity.
It's just an assertion. We don't treat each other equally at all. Men don't treat each other equally, even slightly. We compete with each other every single day, 7 days a week. Every single day of the year, men are in competition.
And I have
hang on. Can I respond to what you just said?
Yes, sir.
If not, then make sure that you give me the high sign and say I'm not done yet, and I'll be quiet. So if you want to continue, go ahead and finish, and then I'll respond. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that maybe my viewpoint isn't how society is actually based, but it's a utopian viewpoint. I believe that people should be treated equal, not based on their gender, not based on their race, not based on anything else besides that they are a human being. So you may speak now. That was all I wanted to say.
And that's fine to treat people equally if that's what your value is.
I'm going to be completely honest. I think she's actually... At least she's listening and she's speaking nicely. She's not really talking over him and stuff. So I appreciate this about her. I don't agree with what she's saying, but at least she's being respectful. And also what she says that she thinks everyone should be treated equally and stuff. That's also great if that's what she really thinks. But we also have to understand that we live in a reality. Now, people are not treated equally, and that's just how it is. Men don't treat men equally, women don't treat women equally, some men don't treat some women equally, and the other way around as well. So we gotta also stop living in this fantasy world and just understand that we live in a reality.
Okay, but then you can't ask for additional statuses because that wouldn't be equal. That's the point, that's the purpose, and the thing is that women do ask for additional statuses. So here would be true equality. You don't lower the training standards for police officers because they're women. You don't lower the training standards for soldiers because they're women. You don't lower the standards for flight school. You don't lower the standards for any of these various things that men are clearly much better at than women because they're women. That would be true equality. When you come back to me and give me that then I'll believe that women don't want additional statuses in society. But right now, it sure seems like they do.
I believe that's fair. And, you know, my viewpoint might not be the same as every other woman in society, but I do think that we should be treated equally.
All right, so something that I don't think many of the guests that Brian usually brings on understand is that the true equality that many of them talk about is not really a benefit to the women at all, and it's actually making it much more difficult. So, like Andrew just pointed out, that the police school and all this stuff will be much tougher if there was actually the true equality. So, I don't think they actually want that. It's just something they believe they want.
Do you know what that would actually entail?
I do understand what that actually would entail. Yes, sir.
You would?
Yes, sir. I
So,
do
like, the
understand.
You don't think, do you think that if a woman smacks a guy, that he should turn around and belt her across the mouth?
Okay, so smacking and belting is not the same, but I do
Yeah, I
think
know, but
there
if
is
a man
a difference
smacks
in
me,
strength.
it's okay for me to belt him, right?
There is a difference in strength between the average man and the average woman. That is not something that is disagreeable based on scientific evidence. I'm not
No.
going to argue with that. Now, I do think that, you know, if you are in this utopian society where you are treating everyone equally, then that would be a situation that would occur. Now, is that equality? No, because the man might be stronger than the woman.
No, that's still equality. Listen, if weaker men attack stronger men, which happens all the time, nobody bats an eye if the stronger man beats up the weaker man. So how is it that you can logically say, because women are weaker, they then deserve the privilege of being able to hit men without men hitting them back?
I
If the
didn't
woman's
say
hitting
that.
him, hang on. If the woman's hitting him at full strength, for instance, and he hits her back at full strength, that would be equality.
Yeah, there's not really much you can say about this one. What she mentioned is not really true equality, because she says since the man is stronger, he shouldn't hit her back. But if you want the true equality, of course, if you hit someone, they should hit you back. Now, like Andrew mentioned, if a weak guy hits a stronger guy, of course, the stronger guy will hit him back, and that's just how it is. And us men, we understand this, and we respect this, at least most of us. So what she's talking about is not really true equality. She still wants the benefit of being the woman, like the weaker one in this case, physically. So it doesn't really make too much sense what she says.
I mean, I don't condone violence like that, domestic or whatever
I mean,
the
that's
reason
nice.
is.
It has nothing to do with
but
the
I
actual
understand
point,
what you're
though.
saying, and I actually, you know, I do think that that would be, you know, considered equality in that sense. Now, do I think that it's okay to hit a woman? Do I think that you should go around smacking women? No. But, you know, if you're saying, okay, a woman is being aggressive towards a man and then a man is aggressive back, that would be considered equal. Is it equal? No. There is a difference in strength there, you know, and
There's a
that's
difference in
not,
strength between every human being on planet Earth.
that's true.
So no matter what, there's always going to be somebody in the fight who's stronger than the other person. We don't say that you can't defend yourself because the other person is weaker. So the thing is like, if you really want equality and you want to know what that entails that women have to get screamed at by their bosses, just like men do. And they can't complain about it and whine and cry about it. It means that they're going to have to deal with coarse jokes and things like this, just like men do, and they can't cry about it, they can't whine about it. It means that they actually get treated like equals. It means that when women put their hands all over men and nobody bats an eyelash, like at a party or something like this, and nobody says that that's sexual battery, that men need to begin to say that it is, because that's what women say. So the thing is like, true equality, I don't even think that women want it. I don't believe you. I literally don't believe that women actually want it. I don't even think they know what the entailment of it is.
I think we're gonna wrap it up here, guys. Just quickly on the last point that Andrew made here. I think what he says is that women usually don't understand what the true equality actually means for them, as well as for men. So they have this idea that the true equality, or whatever they call it, is like the perfect paradise and it will be so good. But they don't really understand that it's actually not really favorable for them at all. So that's just my last take here. I really hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching.